Let's go! Dang, so
Back again.
excited, man. Oh, it's been like a week now, right?
It's been a week, man. It's
So
a long week.
We got my man Spencer on. Yeah, I definitely missed it as well. Super excited to have you on, bro.
Yeah, appreciate it.
We'll basically just like let you do a quick intro about like what you're doing, how you got into real estate and all that good stuff.
Yeah, pretty simple. I'm just an ordinary guy. I'm 28 years old. I'm still a young guy. No prior real estate experience to 2018 is when we got started. But we own an acquisitions company and we're sourcing off-market deals. We're doing wholesales. We're getting into fix and flipping, holding creative deals. So kind of getting into doing it all almost. But however, we're just looking to build wealth as fast as we can so we can sit on a beach somewhere later on in the years.
I love it.
Love that.
That's all of our goals, right?
Right. That's why we have the podcast.
Exactly, man.
We're all.
Awesome. So where are you guys right now? Are you holding anything at all? Is it all just like fixing and flipping?
Yep. So we actually just bought our 7th property, and we already have our 9th under contract. So we have our 2nd property of 2022 already under contract to purchase this year. But we only have 7. So we have 7 rentals that we've already purchased. However, they were all purchased with creative financing.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So we didn't qualify for one mortgage out of any of those properties.
Gotcha. All sub 2 or
Sub 2.
seller
Actually, 2
finance?
of them are sub 2. The other, some of the others are seller finance, and I also have a mortgage note somewhere in there. So.
Awesome, man. And they're all long-term rentals, I assume?
Yes, one of them is on a lease option, which I'm going to get away from that, just because of actually people exercising, buying the property.
Sure.
Wow.
But few of them are short-term rentals. One is on a lease option. One was sold on seller financing, which you kind of can leave it be and don't have to worry about it and manage it like a rental.
Right.
But then we do have, I believe, 3 or 4 of them that are straight rentals. Yep.
How are you feeling about the short-term rentals? That's my jam. So I'm always like,
It's
I
like
hear that.
Short
I'm
term,
like,
I mean,
yo.
it gets me excited
rent
too
a
all the
short term.
time. I mean, it means, better return on your investment.
Sure.
I'm definitely open to it. As far as what we do and what we're kind of doing, it's not too involved in the STRs and whatnot. But
Right.
I mean, if the deal permits so, if one of them comes across my desk, then, I'll do it. I'll do it if it makes sense.
And so where are all your 7 properties? Are they all
Yeah,
in
so we
Florida?
got mostly Central Florida, but I grew up in Grand Rapids, Michigan as well, which is, it used to be over the last 3 years, it was one of the top markets. It was one of the top 5 markets in the country over the last
Wow.
couple of years. So it's a great market. Short-term rentals there and just rentals in general are skyrocketing. A lot of old properties that are just going through the roof, like college rentals, stuff like that.
Love it.
But so investing in Grand Rapids, Michigan, we have the rest of them here in Central Florida, Auburndale, Orlando, outside of Orlando area. Just bought one in Titusville. It's 15 minutes from the Space Center. Have 3 in Michigan, the rest are down here. So we have 4 in Central Florida right now.
Awesome.
Yep. And then we're buying another 2. Hopefully this week we buy the other 2. So we're trying to
Dennis
buy
making
another,
move.
Got to bring
trying
it
to
back
buy
next
another
week.
10 as quick as possible. Yes.
That's the goal for this year. Get another 10.
Yeah, and I think if we already have our 2nd one under contract and we're just basically at the end of the first month, I mean,
You're off
I
to the races.
think maybe it's undershooting myself a little bit, maybe,
Right.
but that's my first goal. If I can do 15, 20 of them, then amazing. Amazing.
So be it.
So let's back up just a little bit.
Yeah.
How did you even get into real estate? You said you just started in 2018, right? So you're still
Yes.
relatively new in the grand scheme of
Yes.
things. Already
Yes.
crushing it, but like, were you working a W-2? Like, how'd you
Yeah,
transition
man,
into
just
real
like
estate?
everybody else, just slaving my life away working for somebody else's business.
Say it like that.
Yeah, well, because it's just such a mindset change now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Being where we're at now, right? So even Irene over there, basically, we used to fight a lot because I was working so much. I was getting stressed out. I was taking it out on her
Yeah.
and just being miserable, because I was literally working illegal hours, meaning like 13, 14, 15 hours a day.
Wow.
I was a truck driver, not like a semi, but I was actually hauling boats, which is even
Wow.
worse.
Wow.
Because they're multi-million-dollar boats I was hauling down the highway, like all up to New York and stuff like that. Anyways, I was working for somebody else's business. I was the right-hand guy. He made, multi-million-dollar, years. And I made like 80 grand. And I was just busting my ass, you know what I mean, to get it done and turn $1. And I was capped. He never allowed me, oh, you're making too much, or you're my top earner for my team and all this kind of stuff. So I was at a ceiling.
Yeah.
And that was at age of 21. So, I mean, I was making 80 grand at 21. I was like, this is really good for me in this point. However, it was extremely stressful. And I knew that it wasn't what, I really had potential for. And I knew I wanted to start my own business. I just never knew what that was. I've never been to college, just worked a bunch of manual labor jobs and, try to work up that pay scale as much as quick, shooting job to job to job just to earn a higher buck. But coming around to that was basically 2017, and I was just done. I was fed up with it. I told E-Day, I was like, listen, I'm gonna make sure that we get to a certain point. I'm gonna have minimal money aside. I think we had like $20K to my bank, to my name. I'm talking like we were renting a house. I had vehicle payments and the whole 9 yards, just like anybody else.
Right.
Wow.
But I was to the point where I'm like, listen, like I'm going to make this work, and I'm going all in. So I had 20 grand in my bank, quit. I mean, I blew through 10 grand of it really quick, just in bills and all that kind of stuff. And I took the other 9 grand and did a lot of research online, really, to start off. And, trying to figure out how do I work the smallest amount of time, but make the biggest buck. And everything literally kept coming back to real estate. Like everything I was searching. And this was all on, just typical Googling, going down the road, at stops and eating lunch. Like, what the heck can I do to start a business where I can make a crap load of money, change my life, live the life I want to live. And it literally kept coming back to real estate. Fast forward a little bit, we stumbled upon Cody Sperber, and he's based out of Scottsdale, Arizona, Phoenix area. And he was teaching, basically how to, wholesale real estate, buy real estate, or not really. You're not really essentially buying real estate with wholesaling, however, but little to no money down getting involved in real estate. And that really intrigued me. I was like, I don't have any money. I just have a little bit of time. I don't have any knowledge in real estate. And he was basically saying that he could teach all of these things. So as E-Day is, she's extremely, she's always on like certain company websites and looking at really who they are and what they do. And if there's anything bad potentially about them or whatnot, any reviews. And she couldn't find anything on Cody Sperber, not one thing. And it was, I believe, 9 grand for the initial investment. So she was like, I'm going to do all my research first before we actually do this. And we did it. We made the leap, and that's kind of where it all started, right then and there. And that was basically end of 2017 is kind of when we started everything. We didn't really implement nothing until we got into 2018. In 2018, the first 6 months of 2018 is really where I was like, hey, listen, I'm done. Like I'm fed up. I gotta do this and get it within, the 6 months, get into real estate and really just go all in. So that's kind of how that happened and whatnot. And 3 months later, after learning all the information and everything, we did our first deal.
Man, that's inspiring.
Bro,
you had no buffer period.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm going all in. What was running through your head? Like, were you nervous? Were you wondering?
Oh,
what was
hell
gonna
yeah, man. Like, come on now. Like, I mean, 20 grand is like, well,
right. I mean, not much.
Yeah,
being a younger guy, like in the early 20s and stuff, like 20 grand, I'm rich.
Yeah,
I got the
you can
world.
Get by, yeah.
I got the world or whatever. But, I just knew that from all the training and what I've seen and people that were making hundreds of thousands of dollars, I was like, if they can do it, why can't I do it? Sure. You know what I mean? If they have zero prior real estate experience as well. So yeah, really just, hey, I'm going to roll up my sleeves, get to work, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And that, following a simple process just like that, is what got me to my first deal.
Would you recommend others to do that? Do you think it like kicks you in the butt to say, hey, I'm going to succeed? Like there's no other option. Or would you, if you can do it again, would you go back and would you have a buffer period where you're maybe working part-time and kind of going slowly?
I would never tell anybody just to quit their job.
Yeah.
Because because everybody's different too. I mean, you got to have that driver. For me, I guess it goes into a lot of other things, really. But yes, I would recommend somebody to be able to do it on the side. However, I would not recommend somebody that has zero experience just to up and quit their job like I did, because it does take a real fire to,
Right.
burning in you to be able to just push on. Well, everybody else is telling you it's something different and kind of all of that. So, but yes, I totally would recommend somebody following either their dreams or their passions, at least on the side, until they can make the
Right.
move, transition.
So how'd that first deal go? Was it a wholesale deal?
Yep, it was a wholesale deal, half a block from my house.
Oh, nice.
Actually, when we got in, like, we heard that bandit signs and stuff were still working good in like lower end markets or suburb markets, and people were handwriting them at the time. And I'm like, well, like, I think that's kind of cost efficient for us right now, like what we were doing.
Sure.
And because I didn't have any money for any systems or anything like that. So bandit signs kind of resonated with me. It was in the middle of the night, I could just put out signs, and I had pretty good handwriting and stuff. So I kind of like thought, hey, this might work out for me. So me and Ide, we wrote them all the time. I mean, she helped me write, 50, 100 signs a night. And, I would go out every single night, or basically 2 nights a week, Friday night and Saturday night, every week, and put out 100 signs each night.
Wow.
So 200 signs a week is what I was doing. And then I think it was only a couple weeks later, on my typical route where I put my signs, I got a call from that sign, and it was a seller that lived in Alaska, and he was an absentee owner, and this was his basically vacation house. His son was in town to clean out his house, and he saw our sign at the corner of the stoplight. So at the intersection.
Wow.
So he called it and he was like, hey, listen, my dad's selling his house and it needs a bunch of work. Can you come look at it? And I said, hey, sure, I'll come look at it. Ended up going looking at it, and there was a nice little 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,200 square foot house, single car garage, built in the 70s, nice little neighborhood in a great development area. And it had black mold halfway up the drywall throughout the whole entire house.
Wow.
Smelled horrible. You know what I mean? It was in disarray. But I was like, this is perfect deal. And then, after some little back and forth, after going over everything, following the process that Cody kind of even taught me and everything like that, was able to lock it in. And at that time, I mean, I think we locked that deal in at like $52,000 for a block house.
Wow.
Which now you couldn't even, I mean, in that same area, we lock them up like around 100 in that area. So I was like, holy cow, it's a great deal. You know what I mean? It was kind of got me all crazy. You know what I mean? It's like I had a deal on the loose, and the house needed work, and there was a lot of hiccups, a lot of speed bumps as well. So, I mean, if you guys are interested, we can talk about those too. But,
Yeah.
Let's go into it.
sure.
For sure.
So
That's the fun part.
I think I learned
We're all
more
learning.
on that first deal than the next 5 or 10 after.
Right.
But on that first one, I mean, it had the son that I was dealing with had a limited power of attorney. So he was working on the behalf of the actual owner. He wasn't even in the state. There was a issues with the driver's license, him being out of state. So there's a lot of different hurdles. Also, when we did a title and lien search, there was a memorandum on the property. So there was a previous buyer that filed a document stating that they were going to buy the house. They had a purchase agreement to buy the house from the seller at one time, and the seller defaulted on the contract. So the buyer was like, hey, listen, I'm not going to get out from under this. I'm going to go file this document with the county, record it, and so someone can pay me out when they're going to sell this deal again. So it's exactly what happened. So I had this deal. I'm like, great, I have a deal, and the guys accepted the offer. We did the title and lien search. We're moving along, and now I have a previous buyer that wants to be bought out. And I have to find out who it is, get a hold of them, and that whole area. That was scary in itself. You know what I mean? Because I thought just the deal was going to fall apart at that point. So steps forward, we actually found out who the guy was and got a hold of him, and he was giving us the go around and only letting us talk to his agents and all this different stuff. And it took a couple weeks, and he originally wanted $10,000 to buy him out, the deal. And the original wholesale fee that we've calculated was right around $24,000 that I was going to get. So I was like, okay, this is a good deal, but now I might have to give away half of it to this guy. I was super nervous. And we found a buyer like I think this one we posted on Facebook Marketplace. So this was 2018, September 2018, first deal. And we posted on Facebook Marketplace, and we were just bombarded by people like, I want the deal. Let me come see it. And we had 2 people go see it, and they were just bidding each other back and forth. And I think the lady said like 75,000 or something like that, right around there. It was in the 70s. And I was like, that's amazing. Deal.
You got it.
Right.
I'm going to make a killing. Yeah. And she was a rehabber, fix and flipper in the area. And I told her the situation that we were dealing with this previous buyer. And she's like, oh, okay, well, let me help you. And I was like, well, thank you. So she went and actually negotiated with the guy, got him down to $4,000. So I was like, hell yeah, let's do this deal.
Buyer.
Like, thank you so much for that. And, and I had to kind of also tell her really that it wasn't my first deal to try to be so new and act so new or whatever. But I think she knew. But she was able to solve that for us. So that was the biggest problem of that deal. But we were able to get them to sign off on that, release the deal. We actually closed. We made $17,000 on our first deal and doubled our initial investment into real estate investing.
Wow.
So from there on out, it was straight cash positive. Let's see how many deals we can do.
That's
fast forwarding to the end of my first year starting, we ended up doing $100K in wholesale fees our first year. So we were able to kind of get traction and consistency off of those same marketing channels over and over again, even though it was here and there, but really it was following Cody Sperber's processes that got me to where I am today.
So after the Bandit signs, what other marketing strategies did you deploy?
Yeah, well, in 2018, we got into basically door knocking pre-foreclosures or leaving notes on pre-foreclosures. Also, we were doing cold calling and SMS texting. That's what really we got into.
Who's we? Is it you?
Basically, just me and Ide. Okay. Now we have 4 agents. We have 4 virtual assistants that are sending us all the deals to basically tee us up right now. So still we're all virtual still. I don't want to have my own office or anything like that. I want to be able to pump a small 7-figure machine from my home. That's kind of my whole goal.
And your role is pretty much meeting with sellers at this point. Everything else is outsourced, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a people person, so I'm the visionary within the company too. And I feel like all of my past jobs, even though they were crap jobs, they really taught me how to talk with people. And that has, I think, been the most leverage for me, and to be able to create more deals and more deals and more deals. So typically I'm just closing all the deals right now. I have follow-up manager. They get them to the point where they're ready to go, and then I'll just close them up. Kind of where we're at.
Nice.
What would you recommend to a brand new wholesaler? So someone trying to do their first wholesale deal, like what do you think is like the first most important skill that they need?
Well, I don't know if it's about skill, like what type of skill. I mean, you do have to find that inner drive though. Mm-hmm. And it's not all about these systems and money that you have to spend on marketing channels and all that stuff. Like, we didn't have any of it. We literally just rolled up our sleeves. I bought 1 set of Bandit signs. I mean, it didn't cost very much. I mean, it was a couple $100. But what advice I would have now is really just getting out there and getting active in the market, whether that's meeting other wholesalers, talking to sellers, talking to agents. Just talk to people and let them know what you're doing, because one relationship could bring just one deal. For sure. And that could start everything. That could be a snowball effect. But if they go out there and just, realistically, the only marketing channel that I would tell them to really get into it, if they're going to start wholesaling or whatnot first, real estate investing, is pull a list and go door knock that list over and over again. And then just call that list. But you don't need any systems to do that. I mean, you can even grab a list from, another wholesaler, another agent, another investor.
Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Stay consistent.
Keep it simple until you can afford those things, right? Get one deal. One deal could front your whole next couple months in marketing. Or maybe at that point you can now partner with, batch leads or something like that, where now you can pay for data to pull on a regular basis. There's a lot of different things you can do. However, I think that's where a lot of people struggle right now getting into real estate. There's so many different avenues. There's so many different ways to make money in real estate. They get caught up in all this information overload, you know? And they're like, oh, I just haven't done a deal yet. Or, you know, I can't get it done. I'm not seeing anything. Nothing's really working for me, but I'm spending all this money. But realistically, when you have no money, you sell. You know what I mean? Then you bring in the money first. But yeah.
So one of the challenges I see from new wholesalers is getting the numbers right, locking up a deal too high, too low. So how do you run comms? How do you get knowledgeable about the market if you're a newbie?
Well, man, I'm trying to remember even back to when I first started. I just kind of, everything was off of Zillow. I'll be 100%, you know, honest about it. Like Zillow gives enough information, just enough where you could do deals without having actual MLS data. Like, I mean, for me, I was doing everything in a notepad. Like I didn't have any CRM, nothing. I was doing everything in a notepad, like comps, Zillow comps, everything. My callbacks, everything out of a notepad until I got one deal. Then you can take back and analyze everything and now spend it where you need it.
Work with what you got in the beginning.
Yeah. But the thing is like you can get into start relationships where you can partner with agents or whatnot to get MLS comps. And that's what we do now. None of us are agent. We're not agents. I don't plan on becoming an agent. So technically I pull everything from Zillow, get an idea of the neighborhood, the area, everything like that. Then I shoot it over to my investor-friendly real estate agent, and he sends me the comps of the actual neighborhood to verify.
There you go.
So how do you take care of him? Like what incentivizes him to continue that relationship with you? Like how are you getting?
He helped us buy our house. That's
Gotcha.
his. Yeah.
Okay.
So he got paid.
There
He
you
got
go.
paid when we bought our house. So that's kind of his playback. But also a good little story about that is he's out of Winter Garden, which is just here in Orlando, and we met him at the Clever Investor Summit in Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, in 2019. So we linked up with him there, and he's like, "Oh, Winter Garden." I actually graduated from West Orange High School, which is in Winter Garden.
Wow.
So that's how we linked up. We collaborated, and were able to start, you know, working together.
Yeah, I'm going to that summit this year. Pretty excited.
Yeah, I heard it's also going to be the last one.
Oh, really?
Yes, and I think it's in.
best of it.
I think it's in Vegas.
No, it's in Arizona. Again.
Is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
okay. Yeah, I thought maybe it's something else that they're doing in Vegas.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I thought, but
Thrive was the last one in
Okay.
Vegas last year.
got it.
Yep, that was the last Thrive, at least indefinitely, like for the near future.
Right.
They made it seem like they left like mystery behind it, where it could come back or it could be something that's a
Right.
little reinvented. So only
Creating that
time
urgency,
will.
creating urgency and everything. Love it. Love doing that.
But yeah, the summit is in Arizona. I think in April.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it was a life changer, to be honest, for me. I mean, he pulled everybody up that it was in the 6-figure club for wholesale fees. So we were able to go up on stage and
Oh, nice.
everything. I mean, it was
Wow.
the turning point for our business. I mean, like we were like, hey, okay, you know, we could do one wholesale deal. We did 30 wholesale deals. Now we did 100K. It's like, this is a proven process that works. How do we just keep doing it over and over and over again to start building wealth? But we still had no experience prior to either building a business, any prior real estate experience. So, I mean, it was all new for us too. But I'm just a normal guy that has a lot of drive, so I was able to put that to work.
Love it.
Where do you think that drive comes from? Like did you play sports as a kid?
I'll tell you exactly where it comes
Yeah,
from.
I'm interested.
So exactly where that comes from is my parents, you know, they never had a lot growing up. Like, I mean, I'm from a village. It's not even a town. It's called Sparta, Michigan, north of Grand Rapids. And it's a very small farm town where, you know, people don't really make it out of the town. And then if you do, you're that city folk that, you know, you did this and you got out while you could.
City folk.
Yeah, and that's literally what it is. I mean, it's nothing fancy whatsoever. But, you know, my parents never had nothing. And even me growing up, my parents gave us everything that we needed to get by. But however, I saw them work paycheck to paycheck, the struggle, everything. They went through foreclosure in 2008. We lost our house that they built.
Jeez.
So there's a lot of these things that happened where I was like, that's never going to happen to me, So even as a kid, I remember I played a lot of football and stuff too, a lot of sports. I knew I was set for greater things. Like whether that would be sports, obviously, that actually happening is not very high chance, but I knew that I was destined for greater things and I was going to do whatever it takes to make it happen and I was going to do what I love. So that was, I think, literally the ultimate driver for me. However, it's to the point now where I've had all these different types of jobs where it's like, they're just dead-end jobs. You know what I mean? It doesn't fuel your passion or so you can actually live to be your best self. And I think that's exactly where it all started. And even I've lived paycheck to paycheck. I was living with my parents and I was making $9 an hour, $10 an hour, got out. Now I'm living even more to paycheck because I can barely pay my rent. It was just stepping stone to stepping stone. But however, I think all of these different types of jobs have just given me the strength to like, hey, listen, you get into the right vehicle, you're going to be able to step on the gas and just, get to where you need to go. So yeah.
Love it. Do you have any siblings? I'm curious.
I do. I have a brother. He is 31, so a few years older than me. He runs his own yacht transport company. I wasn't working for him. It's a complete separate company that I was working for, but it's doing the exact same thing. Wow. So he does a lot of manual labor and stuff, has a ton of overhead, pays a ton in taxes, owns zero real estate, and almost lives paycheck to paycheck because it's just his only income is his business. So you got to remember too that people have all these things, but they're also, a few months away from being broke, which is crazy,
Crazy.
So this has kind of put me in all of these different factors and jobs and, my family and everything has really put me in a position to really know where I want to go. And that's real estate investing. I also have a younger sister. She's never been to college. None of my family has been to college or I don't know if I mentioned that. And I've never been to college. But she has a couple kids. She's young. She's just turned 22, has almost about to have her second kid. She's struggling paycheck to paycheck, her and her husband. And it's tough because it's not just them. It's not like they're not just a one-off case. This is a lot of people in America in general. You know what I mean? So being able to have the right mindset and be able to pursue something like this is insane in itself. You got to be a little bit of crazy,
Said one of my favorite words, mindset.
How do you develop the mindset?
Yeah. What are you doing each day?
It's a compound. I always talk about it's base hits. It's base hits. It's not one big home run that gets us there. It's all these base hits, this little stuff. But however, like I said, I'm a normal guy. I mean, I get frustrated. I get overwhelmed. I take it out on other people. You know what I mean? I've been through all those stepping stones and those hurdles. However, certain books have gotten me there to get in the right mindset, to get a different type of understanding. Even Rich Dad Poor Dad, that's a ton of people's great book.
Yeah, absolutely.
However,
Everyone
it is a
loves that.
game changer.
Yeah.
Game changer for sure.
So there's like all these little things. So like I listened to that or read that book, also listened to Never Split the Difference,
Great
about
one.
negotiations. And that's a whole nother thing too. So taking, and then also profit first. So like having getting negotiation skills, getting skills on just investing in general on an income statement kind of basis, and also profit first with like tax purposes. Taking all those things together has really kind of given me the edge and put me in that right mindset. For me, I think I've always just thought different. I think I've been like, you probably feel the same way,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
You know what I mean? That you're kind of just different than
The
others.
outsiders, yeah.
Right. But like, I feel that I've been always, what's I guess a word I could say? It's like, I've been wanting to pursue these types of things. I want to be different. I want to step out of my comfort zone and I want to go do the things that other people aren't willing to do. And I think that's going to get me to where I ultimately want to go,
Being uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
That's where we grow, and that's where success
Yes.
ultimately lays.
Yes. And that's where I usually would fold too. You know what I mean? Oh, I got to do that. No, I don't want to do that. That's scary, or, that's going to take too much time, or, that might take 4 or 6 years of my life. I can't do that. Like, especially when I was thinking about college, that was a big no-no for me. All my friends were getting, pilot's licenses and degrees and all that stuff. And I was doing work, hard work. That's it. And now a lot of those same friends are back to work, and they're not doing anything with their degrees, and they have a lot of tax debt, school debt.
Yeah, student loan debt.
So that was one thing I never wanted, because I didn't really know what I wanted in life yet. So realistically, my, life from 20 to 25, I was figuring that out. And then basically my, the year that I turned 25 is when we did our first deal and we started investing in real estate.
So, let's see, you got 7 rentals, killing in the wholesale game. What are you really focused on this year? What are you trying to, because there's always levels to a business, right?
Yeah.
So what are you striving to hit or accomplish this year?
I think for me is to get to 7 figures annually on a regular basis, but to get there and not shoot way above and try to make $5 million, $10 million right away. I think just getting to 7 figures and be able to sustain that is my number 1 goal. 2 is acquiring as many properties right now as I possibly can. Why? Because last year was the highest appreciation rated year ever recorded.
Wild.
Crazy.
Wild.
It was like 19% or something like that. Just to give you an example, I have one property that it was a subject to in Auburndale, and it's a very upcoming area. It's like where Legoland and all that kind of stuff is coming in. We bought that property. Basically, we got paid to get into that property because of the seller situation. So that was great. But I sold it on a lease option for 5 years, but I sold it for $145,000, and it's still a lease right now to kind of catch up to speed on that. But however, what I meant by that is now the value of that home is over $200,000.
Wow.
So that's just one.
Yep.
So, I mean, when we have purchased, we started buying in 2020. We bought our first property, which was a sub 2. And then 2021, we bought the other 6. Now we're buying another 2 in 2022 already. But the properties that we've already had since 2022 has, with the equity that and the purchase price numbers that we have, has already put us over $1 million in properties already. So with appreciation, I mean, just an appreciation play, and I mean, a lot of people don't buy properties just for appreciation, but it's a big one. And I think it's going to be similar for me. I think it's going to be similar just like last year, where it might not be 19% appreciation, but it's not going to be your typical 3 to 5 either. So that's my major play. If I can buy another 10 properties this year, all my properties combined, we gain a few $100,000 in equity. We roll these properties over into the next thing. Is it commercial properties, whatever? But it's deal to get to the next deal, and keep changing over that, turning over that investment for a higher return. So
now, to accomplish all that, do you think you need to continue to build out your team or marketing, or are you pretty happy with how lean you are?
I would say I'm running pretty lean. However, I still need to grow. With growth, there becomes other issues and stuff like that. However, I'm also trying to grow very slowly. But I should be able to buy that many properties, hit my same goals with the team that I have now. But I'm also, they say that for whatever your goal is for your monthly revenue or yearly revenue, you want to be spending 14 to 19% of that every single month. I'm not. I'm spending like less than 10%. So there's also things that we have to add in along the way that could potentially be making us a lot more money and making us, 6 figures every single month. So there's also some new things coming for us that will hopefully help us get there.
The 14 to 19%, that's what you should be spending in marketing?
Yes.
Gotcha.
14 to 19% of your goal for the month.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha.
You kind of have like a twofold approach here, right? You have your wholesaling and then you have your portfolio. So
yes.
How do you view them independently? So like pros and cons of both, because wholesaling, you're not really building long-term wealth, but you're building a lot of cash to then go invest in deals.
Yes. Wholesaling is just a strategy, and it should be only one tool in your belt. And it should be the first tool if you're getting started, because it's a good way to not actually take title of real estate. However, you're building that capital very quickly. Now, with that comes a high tax bill. I mean, that is its own company in itself. It's a sales and marketing company, really. You know what I mean? You're not taking title to anything. However, you're selling properties and you're marketing to sellers, direct to seller. So basically, typically for us, the wholesale fees will tend to fund our entry fees for all of our creative stuff. Okay, and that's a whole nother separate company. So everything's a pass-through entity through myself as far as how I'm taxed. So I can make, I think we did just over $300K in wholesale fees last year. If we do that, now if I have to buy enough properties in my other company to alleviate that tax burden. So that's kind of what we're trying to do. But as we do more wholesales and fix and flips, we have to keep buying properties and taking ownership to alleviate that tax. That's just how the millionaires do it.
Are you working closely with like a CPA are you just reading all this stuff yourself? Like,
what I'm learning out of the mentorships, I learned a lot of the basic stuff for wholesale, fix and flips, basic lingo, basic knowledge from Cody Sperber. Okay. That's how we also got into direct contact with Pace Morby, because they're actually friends, and knew that he was the
sub 2 guy.
Sub 2 guy.
Yeah.
And I did my first purchase in 2022 was a sub 2 deal that I did before I was in the mentorship. So it was kind of wonky. You know what I mean? I was like, hey, listen, I can do it. Like, if I already done this, I can do this. And I kind of rolled up my sleeves, and then I kind of got issues with like the insurance and those types of things. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm going to get the mentorship, learn what this guy has to say, and see how I can add it to my tool belt and really add a couple $100 more grand. And realistically, it's probably going to add a few more million to me. So wow. Great mentorship, by the way, but that is really what I think propelled us is on the creative stuff. Because like I said before, we've never qualified for a mortgage.
Now, just for the audience, I don't want to confuse them. You're in 2 mentorships, right? So you're in the one, Cody Sperber, and then also Pace Morby.
Yes, Cody Sperber's mentorship, Clever Investor. That's basically a lifetime thing that we did. It was a full-on mentorship. Highly recommend. Great people, great family. It's absolutely amazing.
It's lifelong as well?
It's lifelong as well. The sub 2 I am is in as well, which was started in, I think that was December 2020, January 2021. So we've been in that mentorship for just over a year. Learned a ton about creative finance and stuff like that. And that's what's taken us to the next level.
Should everyone join a mentorship? Who would you say that is suited for? Like, starting off, you don't have a lot of money. These programs can be pretty pricey from my understanding. So
yeah, I mean, I'd highly recommend getting a mentor, someone that's already doing what you want to do, whether that's making millions. I mean, if you want to make billions, don't talk to the millionaire. If you want to, you know what I mean?
Right.
If you want to make thousands, don't talk to the guy that's working at McDonald's. Yep. Same thing, but highly recommend it. But first off, though, I mean, if you don't have a lot of money, I wouldn't just go out and get a mentor. I mean, maybe it's just invest in yourself first, like which getting a mentor partially is, right? But more investing in books, self-knowledge that you can learn that's not going to cost so much money first. But if you do have money for a mentorship, by all means, 100% go after it.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I mean, if it wasn't for the sub 2 mentorship for me, I don't know where I would be, because just being in the proximity of the community helps tremendously.
100%.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at it like before I got into the sub 2 mentorship, I mean, I was just doing wholesales. I mean, I think before we started doing creative finance, I mean, we did $300K typically on wholesale fees. However, creative finance is what got me my wealth.
Yeah.
I owned one property before I started creative finance. So that's really what has propelled my wealth. You know what I mean? Is the whole learning creative finance and that kind of tool.
Do you think all investors should find their own deals? So if you're just a buy and hold guy, should you learn how to market and find deals, or should you just go direct to the wholesaler?
Well, I mean, all those things are good things. You know, if yeah, I mean, you get them. You can get deals from wholesalers. The thing is off market properties being direct to seller puts you in the driver's seat in any market cycle. However, it costs money because
Right.
now you're marketing and stuff like that. So if you can plug yourself into a network where, you know, you have other wholesalers or other investors, agents and whatnot in that group that can bring you deals, then that's even better because that's $0 for marketing. That's relationships, which is real estate.
Because you and I, being buy and hold investors, like, should we invest time in learning how to wholesale to go direct to seller?
No, if you don't have a plan to start that type of business, I wouldn't. I would be taking time building relationships with wholesalers.
Right.
Because if they understand the exact type of deals that
That
you want, then as soon as they get it, they'll bring it to you.
You
And if
pay their
have a good-
assignment fee and then
Yeah,
move on.
no questions
Yeah.
asked. It could be $100,000 assignment fee. It could be $300,000 assignment fee.
The
It does
numbers
not
work.
matter as long as the numbers work.
Fair
It's
enough.
on.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel too. Like I don't want to.
Yeah, I've never been too interested in wholesaling because I've
Yeah.
always been the buy and hold guy. So
It's not easy.
yeah,
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I can sit here and say, oh, I've done $100K in wholesale fees my first year, you know, do $300K a year in wholesale fees. It's not easy. It takes time. And I think I've had a little bit of leverage, you know, because of the person I am and the drive I've had. However, it's a grind at first until you can actually sustain enough money for your marketing and all that. And then it is its own rat race in itself, right? But once you can build enough capital at first, then you can become a real estate investor and start moving into other, you know, channels, avenues.
Yeah, and you've
For sure.
definitely made that strive where, you know, now you're buying your own real estate.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think for me is like Cody Sperber, when we even got into his mentorship, he's like, I've been into it 14 years, you know, made millions of dollars and stuff like that. I was like, well, how can I do it in 5?
Yeah.
That's really what was running through my head. So it's like, how do I take, you know, a little bit from Cody, a little bit from my life and all the work that I've done, and a little bit from Pace, and just know a little about a lot, right? And take all those things together and be able to move towards my goal. Now, whatever your goal might be, that might be different. It might be Airbnbs, it might be short-term rentals, you know, rentals in general, creative deals. But learning kind of what not to do, taking all these little things and putting it towards a goal that I want. And for me, it's all passive income. And you can do it in a short period of time, but you have to have the goal first, because then you can, you know, reverse engineer it and look what it takes to get there.
There's not a lot.
we love passive
yeah,
income.
yeah.
Well,
There's
and that-
not more.
Yeah, I mean, passive income is amazing. I mean, just to give you an example, we did a mobile home deal. I don't know if you guys do any look at any mobile homes or anything like that. Central Florida, they're pretty big, man.
Yeah.
It's the next affordable home, and it's even becoming in more demand now, right? But we did a deal, direct to seller. I was gonna wholesale. I could have wholesaled it for I think 30 or 40 grand. And I think I had one of my investors walk it the day I was getting it, and he was like, "I'll pay you 60 grand for it today." I had it under contract for 27 grand. And I was like, oh, that's a good wholesale fee. You know, it's pretty good. It's pretty dang good or whatever. It was in good shape, cleaned it out, paid for all the moving for the guy to move back to Michigan and all this different stuff, did whatever it took, you know, put a couple grand into it. And I sold it on seller financing for 120 grand at an 8% interest rate over 20 years. Well,
Wow.
if they actually fulfill that loan, that's $248,000 for one mobile home. But it's also $11,000 a year in income. So 10 of those, just 10, is 100 grand a year.
That's completely passive.
Completely passive.
Not even managing.
Well, it also depends, you know, how you fund the deal. Is it your own cash? Is it private lenders? Is it hard money? Whatever it is. But typically, like I said, you know, if it's low-end cash deals or a creative deal, my acquisitions company funds that typically. So now what we're doing is getting into where we're bringing in private money, so we're not using our own capital, utilizing everybody else's money because it's cheap right now, and be able to scale that way and do more deals, but leveraging everybody else's money.
It's cheap right now. Like, so what are you typically seeing for private money?
8 to 12%, and it all varies on what you're trying to do. First position, second position liens. If you're doing fix and flips, or if it's just entry fees. I mean, there's so many different
Sure.
combinations, but you can get as creative as you want with it, you know. But that's kind of what we're seeing, and it's got to make sense for someone investing their coin too, you know. So if it's a deal that's a little bit more risky, they're probably going to want a higher percentage rate. But also, if you built a relationship with lenders in your area and continue to do deals, that percentage typically just goes down, and you end up getting more value out of them.
Yeah, like you said, it's predicated on relationship building.
100%.
So
Always.
Yeah, and I lead with that. I think that helps me throughout, like with sellers and, you know, talking with them and leading with value first, you know, in a relationship. It draws people to you instead of, hey, listen, how you know, what are you going to sell your property for?
Right.
Or, hey, I just need a loan. I just need a loan today. You know, it's actually, when I first got my first lender, it's like, hey, listen, I'm doing a crap load of wholesales. You see what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. However, I don't have any experience. So how does someone like me get a loan? Which then I used my wholesale portfolio to get my first loan. Basically just gave them all the breakdowns of all my wholesale deals that I've done. And they usually give a higher percentage rate on your first deal, which for me, it was only 10%. And that's kind of, if you have good lenders around here, that's typically what you can find, 10%. And he does 90% of purchase price, 100% of repairs.
Wow.
So it still gives you, a little bit of leverage where you
sure.
have to come up with down payments and stuff, but then that's when you have those gap funding where now I can raise private money for the second position to get into those deals.
Right.
You know? So there's a lot of different things, right? But we've already come so far where we were doing a ton of wholesales. Now we're getting into more creative deals. Now we're actually starting a lot more fix and flips to actually get those funds up.
So who do you have on your team to help you with the financing and the legal side of what you're doing? Because I'm sure it's pretty complex for the average guy.
I try to keep it very simple because I'm not an analytical person at all. And that's why where Ide comes in. Like, she's an engineer by trade, and she runs all the numbers, and it's like, hey, this is not a good investment. This is a good investment, whatever. But what do you mean exactly?
So do you have an attorney drafting up your seller financing agreement for subject
so
to?
All the contracts come through the Sub 2 mentorship.
Got it.
That's where I get all my documents. They're nationwide.
So that's where paying for the mentorship can come.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Getting the paperwork right. 100%. And
Same thing for your wholesale contracts, or how did you find those?
Wholesale contracts, no. I originally did use Clever Investors, but then the person that was teaching me a lot of the information through the company was based out of Tampa, Florida.
Got it.
So I was able to use his local agreements, which then I used for a long, long time. And now I switched back to the other mentorship, Pace, and just utilize those contracts. Wow. Since, leverage them. I mean, they pay thousands and thousands of dollars to their attorneys to draft the paperwork. So
Right.
Absolutely.
Makes sense. Because I was wondering, I'm like, where do you kind of work through that, right? Because it's hard to afford an attorney each time.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Like, we've had some type of stuff where we had to go ask questions to an attorney, and it's, $350 an hour.
Right.
It can rack up freaking quick. But, only do it when you need to. And I use referrals for everything. So our CPA was a referral from an investor that buys a ton of deals for us. So I know he's doing a ton of business. So I wanted to utilize who he uses. We utilize his, title companies as well. I mean, just leverage the people that you know and go through them. You don't have to find this all on your own through trial and error like a ton of people do.
Relationships.
It's relationships.
It keeps going back to that.
Yeah. Real estate is a relationship business, 100%.
You even said earlier, talk to people, Yeah, that's Brent Daniels' motto, and it holds true.
If you can talk, I think that gave me a big piece of leverage in my career is literally just talking to people. I had a lot of jobs where I was worked for a moving company, and I was lumping furniture up flights of stairs, like pianos and crap, into people's houses, and you had to talk to the people because you're making sure that you don't break their stuff. And I learned a lot of personal people skills in that. And then I also became you guys know Grand Cypress over here, golf course. Yep. I was a bellman there.
Wow.
And I was getting $200-$300 tips, for carrying people's luggage and all that. And I had to talk to them. So I had that really I think brought it out in me when I was younger. And now I can talk to anybody, whether they're yelling at me from when the conversation starts or if it's someone with a serious problem. I mean, I think I've grown a lot to be able to just talk through any situation.
For sure.
I want to touch base again just on Pace's mentorship.
Yeah.
When you first got in, were you doing any of like the daily dials or like the role plays?
Yeah,
Did that
role
help
plays.
out? Did that help out a bunch?
Yeah. And it was more listening to like Pace in action and kind of what he said, things he said, how he comes across to people. But once you learned that and you were able to just test and follow the process, really, like that's what it is following the process that he gives you. It works. It's proven. So did that, do it once, it works. You get, you're a little shaky with it. The next time you get a little bit better. The next time you get it even better. And now I'm pitching creative deals. Now I'm teaching my agents how to ask if the seller is interested in a terms offer when they're on a sales call. You know what I mean?
Beautiful.
So it really flows into a lot of other things as well.
And you did the same thing with Cody's, just process, staying consistent, following the.
And I didn't go in and watch every video all the way through, learned every piece of information I possibly could, and be like, all right, now I'm going to implement it. I learned a little and implemented a lot.
Yeah, took action right away.
There you go.
Yes, and it's huge because even Pace, a lot of people say it over again, just take action. But you really have to make that first step. And if you can make that first step and get out of your comfort zone, sky's the limit.
I know that you're really trying to grow your social presence and trying to get more deals. How can people connect with you and be a resource, send you some deals?
Yeah, we're actually trying to document our journey on social media, and kind of put ourselves out there a little bit. I'm not good at it whatsoever. It's kind of still shaky, but I try to take a lot of photos and document kind of what we just literally stepping into what we're already doing, and just making sure that we're getting pictures and videos of it. But mostly on Instagram, Facebook. Instagram handle is Spencer. SPENCER.Bishop, BISHOP _ and you can follow us there. And really just like to connect with other people that are trying to get into the business, that are already working in real estate, so that we can connect, kind of leverage each other's network, be able to do more deals ultimately, and maybe hopefully help people start their businesses.
Man, you just absolutely crushed it, bro.
Awesome.
Yeah. So much value. I mean,
just
listeners
nuggets after nuggets after nuggets. And it's like, it's so cool because like you're exactly what they talk about is possible.
Yeah. Yeah. They
say it all the time. They say, hey, look, this is what's possible. You can start with like little to no money.
Yeah.
You don't have to have real estate background. You just have to take consistent action over and over and over again.
Yep.
But I think so many people are stuck in that analysis paralysis stage where they're trying to learn everything possible.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Even in the mentorship, right? They're trying to learn. They've been there for a year, just like you have.
Right.
But they haven't done a deal yet. They hadn't made an offer yet. They hadn't talked to a seller yet.
Yeah, and it is a little bit different because I was already doing deals when I got into the subject to mentorship and all of that, where I could just added another tool to my belt. But it really is tough because a lot of people think that they have to have what's the best thing out there. You know what I mean? The best CRM, the best data, whatever it is. And you don't need any of that. So taking massive action, going out there and just trying to help somebody that's actually in need, that needs to sell their house. There's a lot of people out there, tons of people. But however, if you could just find that one deal, that one person in need, could literally be a whole game changer for your entire life. One deal could change it all. And it was for me. I mean, it's literally what happened for me. I was, trying to tell my parents, hey, listen, spending every last dollar in my name, investing, and now I'm going to go see if I can make a lot of money. And it's kind of, when you're in that kind of position, you don't really know if it's going to work.
Right.
But if you stay consistent and you put in the work, it's a matter of time. It's not if, it's when.
Mic drop.
I guess we can leave it at that.
Yeah.
Wow. Love that.